Okay, so today we got some work done, as usual. Now, if you might remember, 3 years ago, there was a lot of people and they were like, you know what I want to do? I want to make $15 an hour so I can be rich like everybody else. This is not a standard of living that we can maintain. And myself and several other people who understand economics were like, but hold on, if you want to have more than minimum wages, you have to do more than minimum work, because what's going to happen is if you get $15 an hour, the price of everything is going to double. And then also if our country overreacts to a cold, then prices are going to double for everything, which means that if you're at the bottom and you're poor, guess what? You're still poor, poorer, in fact, because now your dollar doesn't stretch nearly as far. You think you have more money, so you spend it quicker, but then not so good. If you're really rich, no problem. You had money, you have assets, you still have money, you still have assets. You could sell your thing that was $100,000 for $200,000 now, and you're okay. This really does help out wealthy people quite a bit. Now let's say that you're middle class. Let's say that you've got some money saved. You make decent money. Now what's happened? I'll go ahead and tell you. Most of you know already. Your money that you had saved is now worth half as much because it doesn't have the buying power to get you, as far. So now I'm like, oh, I want to buy a candy bar for $0.25. And you're like, well, it's $2.50. And you're like, not the smartest move I've ever made. And so any money that you did have is now worth half. Now, let's just imagine that you knew that this was going to happen, okay? And you bought a bunch of property and you waited and you sat on it because you could afford to. Then what happens? Well, now your property kept up with inflation, because now you can sell your property for twice as much as what you bought it for. Therefore, you have twice as many dollars, even though they're worth half as much. And so you basically maintained. This reminded me, like, if you realize that there's something bad coming and there's some way that you can prepare for this bad thing to come, wouldn't you be smart to prepare? Rather than if you were just like, look, everybody's just going to be a numbskull, they're not going to listen, the bad thing's going to happen, and I can prepare, shouldn't you prepare? So what if all the money that you have is about to become worthless? So like when we went to Kenya, I think it was, I forget what the exact exchange was, 1,100 to 1. So $1 American was worth 1,100 shillings. We cashed out quite a bit, and we ended up with piles. I mean, just like stacks and stacks, millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars in Kenyan money. Then we went to Tanzania. It was 2,300 to 1. Okay, $1, 2,300 Tanzanian shillings. We had 23 million shillings on us, which is tough. Zimbabwe, okay, I found a $50 trillion bill that's worth $36. So the money becomes worthless, but what if there was spiritual money, if you will, and you're about to become bankrupt? All the things that you have, all the money that you have is about to become worthless, because there's going to be a big cashing in. There's going to be a big judgment, if you will. But you can have wealth if, on the other side of this thing that's going to happen, if you get right with Jesus and if you invest in the kingdom of God. And I'm not talking about money, okay? I'm talking about you give your life to help people. You give your life to love people. And then at the end of it, you look back and you go, I don't have a lot of money, or maybe you do, but I invested everything I had as a person, from my heart, into things that matter. And now the judgment has come. God has come and said, well done, good and faithful servant. You were good with small things. You did well with small things. And now I'm going to put you in charge of 10 cities. This is wisdom. Take what you can right now, even if you don't have a lot of money, and use that so that later on you have riches forever. Love you guys.